Sounds True presents Meditations for the Inner Shaman, a guide to the power path of the heart with author and teacher José Luis Stevens.
This program is about awakening the most powerful creative source within you, a core self that's been with you, inside of you, since your ageless beginning. This creative, powerful core self has always operated within you, but it acts subtly in the background like an engine idling. It's been waiting for your acknowledgement so that it has permission to engage and release its immense power and influence in your life. It's what I call the inner shaman, the deep self that's been referred to by many names over the ages. Sometimes people call it essence or spirit, soul, source, the core self, the I am, the Tao, and the Christ force. Or more accurately, it really has no name at all. I call it the inner shaman because shamanism is the world's most ancient understanding of the power within. This power within is that which is most true about you. But it doesn't draw any attention to itself, which is actually rather impressive when you think about it. This is a testament to its willingness to grant you absolute freedom to acknowledge it or not, to choose it or not, to harness its awesome power or not. The inner shaman never makes demands of you. It never coerces you or fights you. It offers no resistance to your thoughts or feelings. Rather, it accepts them fully as you wind your way through your life. And that said, not all of your thoughts and feelings are in harmony with it, resonate with it, or even support it. The inner shaman tolerates these distractions because it's not threatened by them. It's in no way harmed by them. In fact, your inner shaman ignores most of your experience, just as you might ignore the distant drone of a small plane that has nothing to do with what you're doing. By ignoring your experience, it doesn't intend to be cruel or abandon you. In fact, you benefit from it ignoring your worries, conflicts, and judgments, fears and disappointments and angers. It's a good thing. The inner shaman simply is waiting for you to become sane, that glimmer of light or recognition on your part. In short, it's waiting for your readiness to be aware of it. And in the meantime, it doesn't interfere with you. Because your inner shaman is connected with the truth, it's not afraid. It's actually rather courageous. It can't be discouraged. It doesn't become anxious. It doesn't even become depressed. Your inner shaman is that aspect of you that's completely healthy, and it's filled with an infinite supply of vitality, creativity, curiosity, inspiration, and deep inner knowing about the appropriate course of action for your life. In fact, it knows what your life task is. There is a meaningful plan for you. The inner shaman knows exactly what that is and will inexorably lead you to it. The only thing that can deter you is, of course, your own fear. So discovering your inner shaman will help you to override any tendency to feel like a victim, to feel martyred, to feel disempowered, to fall into laziness and lack of motivation. Embracing your inner shaman will make you more efficient and more productive as you systematically erase the energy leaks in your life. Worry is an energy leak, as is being concerned with what others think about you, or even how they see you. The inner shaman doesn't care, and yet at the same time, the inner shaman is the energy of love. So I refer to this core of your being as the inner shaman because I believe this is the best, most accurate description. Shamans are unique and powerful people. They operate in indigenous cultures in every continent of the world. They've existed since the beginning of history. Through an inner calling and their own hard work and initiative, shamans perform critical service for their communities. They're known by many names. The Huichol of Mexico call them Maracami, and the Toltec tradition in Mexico calls them men and women of knowledge. They're called Pacos in the Andes of Peru and Bolivia, medicine men or women in North American tribes, and there are many more names around the world. In modern times, shaman has become the generic name for those powerful teachers, philosophers, and healers. They're the world's oldest spiritual teachers. individuals who, among their many duties, heal the sick, perform ceremonies to harmonize the community, battle negativity, communicate with the ancestors, work with allies for the good of others. They gather knowledge. They teach through storytelling. They act as seers and prophets for their people, and they're leaders. And they spend a great deal of time gathering power and energy to perform complex supernatural feats and travel to distant locations and other dimensions. So this path is the shamanic path. It's a path of heart. It's a path of service and generosity and the love of spirit and all creation. And it's also the path of balance. Shamans all over the world do their best to live in complete harmony with nature, the environment, the cycles of the season, the weather, and the varying patterns of the stars, the moon, and the sun. So to accomplish this, they cultivate the intelligence of the heart. And within the heart lies the clarity of mind to see with expert knowledge this world and worlds beyond. As in all professions, some shamans fall prey to greed, power, and the dark arts. But this is true in any profession, really. As a group, shamans are the people who take the greatest responsibility for the well-being of the planet and all its inhabitants, including the animals, the plants, and all the elements. And equally, shamans hold great care and responsibility for the spiritual realms. And although most of these practitioners don't admit they're shamans, to refer to them as such is offering them the greatest compliment, the highest of honors. In my experience, someone who calls themselves a shaman usually isn't one. Shaman is an ancient word from the Evenki tribe in Siberia. They're a reindeer people, and it means the one who sees in the dark, or the one who knows. The inner shaman is the core awareness, the wise one within you who knows and sees the truth, who walks in beauty and balance, who has access to infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite tranquility. So, what better name could there be? People often ask me how I first learned about the inner shaman, so I'll give a very short little summary here of a very long story. My own shamanic journey started when I was very small. I grew up in Southern California. My mother was Mexican from Guadalajara, Mexico. My father was an American, and we lived in East Hollywood, Southern California. And my elderly grandmother, who couldn't speak any English, she lived with us. And she grew up in a hacienda in Chihuahua, Mexico, and was raised by Indian servants who were mostly Yaquis, Tarahumaras, and Huichals. And they taught her the shamanic ways of their ancestors. And during the Mexican Revolution, her family lost their wealth and eventually migrated to Southern California. My grandmother was the one who raised me, really, and filled me with stories of what the Indians had taught her about the ancient ways. And that's how it all began. I was brought up Catholic, so I was no stranger to mysticism. And as I grew older, I read about the great saints and Yogananda, and for the first time I realized that miracles had often been performed by people outside the Christian tradition, which was a big revelation to me. As a young man, I studied with an enlightened Korean Zen master, Seung Sanim, and he taught me a great deal about myself and how my mind works. I was a voracious reader, and I read everything I could get my hands on about philosophy, mysticism, science, world religions, and parapsychology. I began to understand that one truth underlies all the world's major religions. It was the first time that I encountered the concept that I created my own reality. And this is a basic principle in shamanic understanding. During the 70s, I went to social work school, got my master's, Berkeley. I worked for a couple of years at Napa State Mental Hospital. And after that sequence was really difficult, I quit and I traveled on my own through India, Nepal, and Thailand. And I met people who demonstrated supernormal abilities to alter the conventional laws of nature. I saw people walk on fire and glass and bend heavy steel with their concentration. I met people that could foretell the future. And witnessing these events really excited me. And it actually relieved me in some ways and unnerved me in other ways. And it produced a profound disorientation in all my belief systems. My world was rocked, and I knew this new way of seeing was what I longed for the most, even though it was pretty terrifying at the time. In Nepal, I studied with a Tibetan Buddhist Lama for a while, and he taught me that words really didn't have to communicate information, that he would just put his head next to mine and transfer information into my brain, and this was a unnerving and amazing experience for me. I went back to India and I met a Indian guru in Varanasi.